Yes, I have a very formal introduction. So let's welcome Dan Goble, Professor Dan Goble, who received his master's in human kinetics from the University of Windsor.
By the way, didn't get the job, so I'm here for a long time.
Oh.
I just applied for a job back home at that university. I told him last week.
We love to keep you here. So,
I'm happy to be here. This is pretty good plan B. So we do a lot worse.
And then a PhD in kinesiology from the University of Michigan in 2007. And he's been faculty at SDSU since 2012, I think. And is it the Department of School? What's
I guess for the School of Exercise
School
Nutritional
of
Sciences.
and Nutritional Sciences, where he's now an associate professor. And he will tell you all the rest. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
So originally we had talked about trying to do concussion and aging, and I tried to mesh it all together, and it just was ugly. So if you guys have questions on aging and proprioception and fMRI, which is all very cool stuff that I did out in Belgium after my PhD, and you guys read the paper, I'm happy to answer them. But for the sake of keeping this to be a nice straightforward story that you can take something away from easily, we're just going to talk about how I kind of accidentally created a medical device company here at San Diego State. And I'm going to frame it all in the world of concussion because that was how it happened. And then I'm going to share with you sort of the next phase of things beyond concussion, which gets into some aging and fall risk stuff. So I guess it will come back a little bit to that paper you guys read. So without further ado, let's talk about concussions. You can't give a concussion talk. Can you see okay? Yeah?
Okay.
You sure? I'm a bit of a wanderer. I'll try to be. So that's Shane Morris getting blown up after throwing a football. As Axel said, I'm from the University of Michigan for my PhD. I was a Michigan fan way before my PhD. Still a very big passion. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you'll get random Michigan stuff mixed in with professional stuff. This was an interesting concussion because after he sustains this concussion, they don't show it, but he gets up, he starts wobbling around, his balance is all off, and nobody saw it. And they let him stay in the game for a couple more plays, and it became a whole national story about what are we doing, how can people still be not seeing these things and making sure he's protected. And it turned into this big downward spiral that actually got the coach, Brady Hoke, fired. Brady Hoke, who used to be the coach here at San Diego State, around the time I came here, we were actually traded head for head. Michigan got him and you guys got me. It was a great thing because then we got Jim Harbaugh and now we're good at football again. So anyways, concussions, they're a big deal. They really are. Lots of people out there talking about them. Why are they talking about them? It's because of brains like this. So what you're looking at here are slices of brain tissue from 3 different people. They're all around the age of 65, and they're all men. And what the staining on these is for the tau protein, which is just a marker of scar tissue, inflammation, swelling, whatever. And it's really pretty obvious what happens to some pro football players, some pro boxers who are sustaining multiple impacts to their head over the course of their careers. They're getting brain damaged, to put it quite lightly. And all the tissue that's dying off there is causing problems, depression, emotional stuff, physical symptoms, memory loss, you name it across the gamut. Depending on where the neurons damaged are, you get those symptoms. They named that disorder something. They called it chronic traumatic encephalitis. That was the movie Concussion, for those of you who have watched it. It looks actually a little bit like what you see in other neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease, which former pro boxer Muhammad Ali was later diagnosed with, so there could be a connection there. There's certainly a connection with things like Alzheimer's disease, but I won't belabor it too much. So yeah, concussions are a big deal because these sports are big money, and these athletes are really at risk for brain damage by playing them. We don't want to get rid of the sports, so the options are kind of limited. We're not going to come up with a cure immediately, so what they're going to try to do is just do a better job of recognizing them when they happen, pulling people back, letting them recover, trying to lessen the damage when it does occur. So how do we actually assess concussions today? This is the state of the art. We're going to start, it's a 3-tiered process. So the first thing, if you're an athlete and you get bonked on the head, the first thing that your athletic trainer is supposed to do, not all trainers do it, is do a symptoms checklist with you. And the symptoms checklist is just a series of questions they would ask you about: do you have double vision? Are you nauseous? Are you sensitive to light? Do you have a headache? And they've been doing this for about 3 decades now, trying to figure out if you have a concussion from symptoms. And assuming the athlete doesn't lie, this is not a bad way to go. But of course, athletes are not always motivated to tell the truth in this situation because they want to keep playing. So they can't just do symptoms. So really about 20, 25 years ago, they put a second layer on top of things in the concussion protocol world, which was cognitive testing. And by cognitive testing, essentially what you're looking at are a series of memory questions, things like, do you remember what the score of the game was when you got hit? Do you remember where you are? Do you remember what day of the week it is, what year it is, things like that. That level of testing is a little bit better. It's definitely less subjective, and it doesn't rely as much on the athletes not lying. They can't be deceptive about it so well. Except for athletes who are actually really clever, and professional athletes are really motivated. So there's a little bit of work out there to say that there are now athletes, they don't change these questions very often. They're really pretty standardized. And so they're doing ingraining techniques. And so before the game, an ingraining technique would be to sit there for 5 minutes and just repeat to yourself, today is Monday, February, whatever today is, 6, 7, March, May.
I think you just
I missed a month. Yeah. So you can ingrain it in your head so that you're more likely to remember it even if you do have a subtle concussion. So that's really not enough to be sure. So they added a third layer, really about 15 years ago now, which was a motor layer, tapping into motor function, and it's typically just a balance test that you have the athlete conduct to see if the motor system has been compromised, and that's a lot harder thing for them to fake than some of those other things. You can't really get your balance on the spot to be better. So then the question becomes, okay, what is the balance test? Because there's all sorts of different ways you can measure balance. And what 85% of athletic trainers who actually do balance testing use is this test, which is called the Balance Error Scoring System. It is a test that has 6 different conditions. They're in the pictures there, where the athlete has their feet placed in different stances, so their feet together, feet in tandem, 1 foot off the ground, and or standing on some compliant foam, which is thought to affect the proprioceptive system and make it harder to stand up. And the way they measure their balance is the athletic trainer would watch the athlete as they stood in these stances for about 20 seconds each, and they would count errors. And errors are going to be things like if their hand came off their hip, or if they opened their eyes during the test, or if they stepped out of place. So the athletic trainer is scanning for these 6 different types of errors. They count up the total number of errors over the 6 trials, and you get your balance score. That all sounds really great in theory, except for the science is really pretty negative about the best test. Mostly because it's not really measuring balance, and it's really subjective. And also, it's really hard for an athletic trainer to see 6 different errors all at once and count them all up. So if you're looking at the feet for a step out, can you really see if the eyes are opening up? Not so well. So yeah, this test is subjective, it's inaccurate, it's unreliable. They've done great studies with different athletic trainers watching video of the same person doing the test. They come up with different numbers all the time. They've run videos with a single athletic trainer where they watch the same video a week apart, come up with different numbers. So it's just a bad test. Sorry, I'm fighting off a cold. Hopefully the coffee will help. So why do they use this test? Well, it's dirt cheap. So you can run this test anywhere, anytime. And you don't have to pay anything for it other than the cost of foam, which is about $60. Or if you're the NFL, you actually cut out the bottom conditions with the foam and just do the non-foam conditions, and then you don't even have to buy foam. I bring the NFL up because everybody always wants to know what the NFL does because they have more money than God, and why are they doing the worst possible balance test for their athletes? Well, it's a couple of reasons. The first reason is, on the Head, Spine, and Neck Committee is Kevin Geskowitz, who invented this test, and he was also the concussion czar when they were looking for balance tests. So he just went with his test so that he could promote it. That's my opinion. And then the second reason they use the best test is because they like these subjective tests. So hard numbers are a bad thing if you want to have the flexibility to keep your player in the game. So you want something to be like, maybe that wasn't an error, he's okay, get back in there. Or if you don't want him to get back, you can fudge it and get him out. We have had some experience with the NFL. If somebody wants to ask me that question at the end, I can tell you my dealings with the NFL. It was interesting. Okay, so that's what 85% of people use. This is a crappy test for balance. Is there a better way? There absolutely is a better way to measure your balance. So if you have a balance problem, you go see a balance doctor. What they're going to do is measure your balance with a device like one of these 3 devices, which is a force plate. And the force plate is really pretty easy theoretically to understand. What it does is it's measuring how much you sway on top of it. And the idea is if you sway more, you're more likely to fall, so your balance is worse. So it's just looking to see if you have a lot of sway. The problem with these devices, of course, if you look at those costs underneath, even the cheap one is about $5,000. That's way out of reach for most high schools, Pop Warner football teams, things of that nature. So we have a fundamental problem here, which was well stated by our former head athletic trainer here at San Diego State, Tom Abdenauer, who's in the Football Hall of Fame for athletic trainers, which is that it seems the field of athletic training would prefer to have something that everybody could use, even if it's garbage, than have a lot of people, or as many people as possible, using something that is good and reliable. I'm paraphrasing that quote quite literally. So is there a solution to this problem? Well, the solution is, can we somehow get a force plate that's as cheap enough that like it could replace the best test, and then everybody would have access to good technology. And so that's what we set about to do, or what I set about to do inadvertently here at San Diego State when I created this device here, which is the balance tracking system. There is a patent pending, so the university owns part of this technology with me. And here's the upside of the balance tracking system, or B-Trax as we call it. It's low cost, so $795 for the plate. It's a little bit more with the software, depending on which software you get. Super portable, less than 15 pounds, so you can bring it anywhere, anytime. It's got a nice little handle, walk it around. It doesn't require any AC power from an outlet, so you don't have to be by an outlet. You can just power it off your computer. The test we promote is 2 minutes. That's actually faster than the best test for testing. It's an FDA Class 1 medical device, so we've gone through the FDA process, and it's a real thing. And we validated it. I'll share some of that science with you as we keep going. So hopefully this video show, is there sound in here? Yeah. Maybe?
I don't know whether
It won't
this
go through that.
HDMI.
You don't
It would
think
just
so?
play from my computer.
Okay. Well, if you guys are interested to see the device in action, it definitely won't go if we try it. Should we try it? Oh yeah, it doesn't even give me the option. Oh, there it is.
Well, tonight, groundbreaking technology could change the way recovery from concussions.
Okay, well, I'll motivate this. So this is from the CW6 News, shortly after we launched the company around this thing. It's just a really nice piece where they talk about how the device is actually used and gives you a good visual of the testing itself.
Are measured.
Tabitha Lipkin spoke with the founder of Balance Tracking Systems. Their plate can accurately measure recovery from a head injury for a fraction of what it once cost.
One of the things that balance is important for is concussion assessment.
Trainers look at 3 things when assessing a concussion: symptoms of the head injury like dizziness or blurry vision, cognitive ability, and balance. Daniel Goble, a professor at SDSU and founder of Balance Tracking Systems, has found a significantly cheaper way to measure an athlete's recovery from a concussion based on their balance.
So this is the V-Trax acquisition plate. It consists of 4 sensors that measure the amount of force that's being placed on the board as someone is standing on it. Those forces are then sent to the computer, and the computer can calculate how much the person is swaying based on those forces.
The first step is to establish a baseline, having the athlete balance on the plate at the beginning of the season. A total of 3 trials are combined together for an average. Now, with those average, coaches or trainers can compare that to a preseason baseline score, and they can determine whether or not an athlete is still suffering from balance-related issues when it comes to a concussion.
So one of our goals is to try to get trainers to not have to rely on visual balance tests, which is one of the things that a lot of trainers now have to rely on because they can't afford expensive force plate technology.
Those plates are generally installed underground and can run upwards of $20,000 a pop, far more than what an average school can afford. But now the balance tracking system does that for under $800 in less than 3 minutes to ensure an athlete is fully recovered from a concussion.
It's really important to have the athlete be fully recovered from a head injury prior to sending them back out to play due to what's called second impact syndrome.
This balance tracking system is already being used in several colleges and high schools throughout San Diego County, including SDSU, where it will be used for the first time during this football season. Tabitha Lipkin, San Diego 6 News. This technology is also being used in trials to observe those under the influence of alcohol and help research the effects of Huntington's disease.
So you get the idea. Blowing up my video. How do we get to the next page? Cursor? One of the questions we always get is who's actually using this. So these are some of our high-profile users, including SDSU, very high-profile university that it is. So the next segment of this, I just want to tell you a little bit about how this was created. A lot of people are interested in that kind of process, how you would go from doing some science in your lab to starting a company around your stuff. A lot of you guys are going to go into academia, so this is a potential path for you maybe. So I'm going to take you all the way back to 2012 when I got to San Diego State. I'm now in the College of Health and Human Services, which is a big college. When I got here, we were actually in performance arts. And being in the performance arts school means that your startup package is significantly less to start your lab than in other colleges. And so I was given $25,000 to start up my lab here at San Diego State. Which meant even though I wanted to buy one of these $125,000 things that I was using in Belgium for all my postdoc stuff, really all I could afford were these. So that's the Nintendo Wii Balance Board. It's a $50 force plate. I was really fortunate at the time. The Rehab Institute of Chicago was just starting to hack into these Nintendo Wii boards with some custom software and show that they're like about 90% as good as more expensive $10,000 force plates. And I could do a little bit of software engineering, so I started hacking into it and I created a little collection software. It's kind of ugly, but good enough. And